Hi, Andy.
Hey, Dad.
How are you doing?
Good. How about you? We're
I'm all right. I'm
back
ready
here
for
for
us to chat
episode
about
4.
another timeless, but have you been watching anything else besides Timeless recently that maybe I should know about?
Well, we have been really into Severance. Um
Oh,
we actually Lori and I watched the first season. There was like a 3-year gap between the first season and the second season. But when the second season started, we were really into it, and I feel like it's really delivering on the expectations.
mm-hmm.
Um But we actually wanted to watch it with the kids, so we went back and we watched season 1 with the kids. We're using the VidAngel, which just, can filter out language and stuff. So, but that's worked out really well. But the kids are like really into it, and so now that they're releasing season 2 on a weekly schedule, it's been really fun.
Yeah,
It's kind of nice having a show that doesn't just release a whole season at once, where it's 1 week at a time, because
right,
there's so much
right.
in each episode that then you've got a week to kind of digest it and think about it and try to theorize about what's going on. But yeah, that's been something that we've been liking quite a bit.
I did watch the first season of Severance, but I have not caught any of the second season. And but you mentioned that VidAngel.
Mhm.
I looked into that, but the trouble is my TVs are Roku TVs and VidAngel is not compatible with
Ah,
Roku.
oh, okay.
So that leaves that out.
Yeah.
Anything else you've been watching?
Um, that's kind of the main TV thing that we've been interested in. I did pick up the the Bill and Ted trilogy. This
Mm-hmm.
comes from Shout Factory. It's the 4K, Ultra HD Bill and Ted trilogy. So I'm pretty excited about that. And
Ooh,
so they went, yeah, and for the, so they went back and like rescanned the film and the digital intermediate. But I feel like any I feel like Shout Factory does a really good job with their
mm-hmm.
movies,
Mm-hmm.
just because I feel like they're a little more geared toward the collector, and so they try to do a really nice job with their
That's
um
cool.
releases. But yeah, so that'll be fun to watch.
All right.
What about
Um,
you?
well, I this last week I watched the season finale, the first season of a show called High Potential.
Hmm.
Have you heard of that one?
Uh-uh.
It's probably available on Hulu,
Okay.
but it's about a gal who is like super smart, but she's a bit of is it OCD or
Okay.
ADHD or something like that.
Hmm.
It starts out where she's doing cleaning in a police station, emptying the
I could.
wastebaskets, things
Okay.
like
Yeah.
that. And she sees the big crime board with all the pictures and the arrows and all the stuff
Uh-huh.
that you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
she looks at it and and she's fanatical about details. She looks at it and she goes, "Oh, now that's wrong. That's wrong.
Wait, is this
That's a
sort of
pic."
she's like a janitor? Is this kind of like what's that movie with was it Good Will Hunting? That's that's sort of a isn't that
I can't remember. All I
where
know
he's
is that
yeah.
she helps them figure it out because she'll go to a crime scene and she'll look around and and they'll kind of know who they suspect, and she'll say, well, the lunchbox that this person had this emblem on it, and this matches this thing over here. Nobody else notices this stuff, but see, she notices all these tiny details. So
Well,
now she's a police consultant.
so okay. That's kind of a funny premise.
You,
So
you,
is she
you ought
just
to
kind of in
check.
the background, like they're having these meetings discussing stuff? She's walking by with a mop and just kind of interjects her opinions, or
No, no, they when she messes in the first you'll have to watch the first episode, but
okay,
when she messes with their crime board, they wonder who did this,
I see.
who did this, you know,
Hmm.
and then she has to explain what and why, and they go
Hmm.
from there. But that is about it. Um, we did watch an old episode of Columbo on
Oh yeah, I love
Prime,
Columbo. Uh-huh.
and this particular one, I won't go into all the details, but even as I was watching it, I'm going, that's really thin. That's a real thin reason for Columbo to suspect this guy. It's too much of a stretch.
He just
But
has, that's what I always
so,
liked about Columbo, is he just had, it was almost just an instinct. It was like, for no clear reason, he could
right.
just, he was like a magnet that would just sense who did it and just cling to them like a leech for the rest of the episode.
It's
But
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
usually not based really on anything.
Yeah, because I thought in this instance, if you were going to base it on what brought Columbo to where the murderer was, I thought that's not it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the episode worked out okay, and that's about all I have to report on for viewing habits recently.
Yep, that's
Well,
about all I
except for
got.
this episode of Timeless.
Yep, Timeless
And what do
episode
you
4.
say we get into it? Episode 4 has an interesting title. Shall we just go ahead and jump into it? Like
Yep.
we said last time, that last episode felt like the first of a two-parter.
Sorry, I want to ask one question. You, in the last time we talked, you mentioned that in the logo in the Timeless logo at the beginning of the episode, that
Right.
if you pause it right at the beginning, it shows the date that they're traveling back to. Did you check? Did this one do that? I didn't look.
Yes, it did.
So it would have said December 7th, 1944.
Well, now that's an interesting point, which we're going to get to at the end when we give our thoughts.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's jump into episode 4, which is called Party at Castle Valar. Now, this episode opens December 7th, 1944, with a party hosted by Nazi military at Castle Valar in Germany. People are there to celebrate the launch of a German V-2 rocket. In the present at Mason Industries, Jaya says she managed to track down the mothership, that's Flynn's time machine, to a location outside Oakland. At Flynn's location, Anthony is removing the nuclear material from the atomic bomb they stole in 1962. Outside, the military shows up, so Flynn, Anthony, and a couple of henchmen escape in the time machine. People from Mason Industries, including Wyatt and Agent Christopher, are searching through the warehouse that Flynn just left, and they realize Flynn has taken the nuclear material with him. On a video call, Rufus tells them that Flynn went back to December 9th, 1944. Now, they're worried that Flynn might give a nuclear bomb to the Nazis a year before the U.S. has one.
At Mason Industries, Lucy says the area Flynn went to was rumored to have a tavern that was a rendezvous for the Allied resistance, and we learn that Wyatt speaks 4 languages, including German. Lucy wonders about getting appropriate clothing, so Connor Mason takes them into a huge area called the wardrobe dock, filled with clothing from all time periods. In the time machine, Lucy tells Wyatt that when they get to the tavern, they may have to order a specific cognac, a 1923 Remy Martin. The time machine appears in the woods and is seen by a German soldier. The soldier grabs his weapon and Wyatt shoots him. As they go through the woods, Wyatt shoots another soldier. At a road, they watch several vehicles drive past. One of them is carrying the V-2 rocket from the first of the episode.
Lucy and Wyatt enter the tavern while Rufus steals a car. The tavern is full of German soldiers. At the bar, they order the 23 Remy Martin, but the bartender says they don't have that one. So they get 2 whiskeys and go sit at a table. Lucy and Wyatt are then approached by a German captain. He tells them to leave through a red door. While hot wiring a car, Rufus sees the 3 of them leave the tavern and he follows. In another building, Wyatt and the German pull guns on each other. When the soldier speaks English, they put their guns away. He says he's with the Allied resistance and that his name is Ian Fleming. They recognize Fleming as the author who created and wrote the James Bond novels, or he will after the war. While Fleming is out of the room, Lucy tells Wyatt and Rufus that Fleming was also a real spy in World War II. He returns and they tell him they think Flynn is going to give the atomic weapon he stole to the Nazis. They believe Flynn is going to arm the V2 rocket they saw at the beginning of the episode with the atomic bomb. So the plan is to get to the castle and disarm the bomb.
When they get to the rocket, Rufus uses a Geiger counter and says there is no bomb. Lucy says maybe Flynn isn't there to arm the rocket. A group drives up, and one of them is Flynn. Another is Werner von Braun. Wyatt gets out his gun to shoot Flynn, but Lucy stops him because she says he can't risk accidentally hitting von Braun. Later, Lucy, Wyatt, Rufus, and Fleming decide to kidnap von Braun and turn him over to the Allies. Fleming says von Braun will be at the castle that night for the rocket demonstration. Fleming will be there with Lucy as his secretary. While Lucy and Fleming attend the party, Wyatt and Rufus go to the rocket where Rufus does some rewiring on the V2. Lucy happens to notice a symbol in a stained glass window and says she knows that symbol. Then they spot von Braun and Lucy heads over to get him. As she walks through the crowd, Flynn suddenly grabs her arm. He tells her he is going to give von Braun to the Soviets. Lucy asks about Rittenhouse. Flynn says again that he is a patriot. Fleming comes up, but German soldiers move in and capture them.
At the rocket, some Germans arrive, but the rocket explodes due to Rufus's rewiring. In the commotion, Wyatt and Rufus arrive at the castle, and the four of them grab von Braun. They're being chased by Flynn and German soldiers. They run into a room and lock the door. Rufus says there's no way out. Lucy sees the same symbol from that stained glass window on the mantel above the fireplace. Well, the Germans break into the room, but it's empty. They've escaped through a secret passage behind the fireplace. They take von Braun to the resistance safe house and turn him over to the Allies. At Mason Industries, Connor Mason says their account of events is exactly like a James Bond movie. But Lucy, Wyatt, and Rufus have never heard of this particular movie. They didn't recover the nuke because Rufus says it isn't for a bomb. It's going to power Flynn's time machine.
Then we see Anthony inserting the nuclear bomb, which is now a battery, into the mothership. He tells Flynn it should last about 300 years. At Mason Industries, Rufus tells Connor that he is done making the clandestine recordings of their missions. Lucy confronts Agent Christopher and tells her that she, Agent Christopher, needs to arrange for Lucy to have a leave of absence from teaching, and she said again that they need to fix history to get her sister back or else she leaves. Finally, Rufus is driving home when his car suddenly loses power and stops. Another car pulls up and a man approaches Rufus. He basically tells Rufus to cooperate for the safety of his family. The man is part of Rittenhouse. Roll credits.
Okay, the end of episode 4. What did you think of this one? Was there anything in this one that stood out to you?
Well, the way it ended felt a little bit X-Files-ish, sort of, where you've got the mysterious man in a suit who shows up and has I don't know.
He makes these veiled threats, like Rufus, you cooperate or else.
Right. I guess I'm still kind of feeling. I don't know. I guess I kind of feel the same as I've been feeling, where I'm kind of interested in the plot and where it's going, but I'm still not super invested in any of the characters as characters per se. But I do feel like they were trying to have in the story, I can't think of the specific moments. As I watched, there were a couple moments that stood out to me where it was characters talking about their backstory,
Yes.
or like a traumatic experience that they had been through,
Hmm.
and it felt like it was an attempt to kind of build sympathy for that character. But there was something, can't quite put my finger on it, but there was something about it that kind of felt forced or something.
It's like,
I think,
okay, it's like we're just now finding out what is bothering Lucy, or what, is going on with her, how she has what almost seems like a little PTSD about everything.
yeah,
I mean, we're
but
4
even
episodes in and we're finally finding out some backstory.
right, which is fine. It's just that stuff isn't. I don't know. For me, it doesn't necessarily get me invested in a
Mhm.
character. I think, I don't know. Maybe I'm more interested in the interesting decisions
Well,
the character makes. But
you mentioned that, and we had that from 3 of the characters. We had it from
right,
Lucy, from Wyatt, and from Fleming.
hmm
Yeah.
I did think Ian Fleming being part of the story was pretty fun. I
Mhm.
had no idea that he had been a spy, which is
Yes.
pretty cool. Um, but and then I don't know. I found it pretty funny that at the end he ends up writing a James Bond book based on the experience that they had had, and then
Right.
I don't know, that kind of made me laugh.
And that Rufus and Wyatt, Lucy were all
They were
characters.
characters with their exact names and everything.
Exactly.
Um,
And, speaking of that, I kind of lost track of how many James Bond references there were in this episode.
mhm. Well,
Just,
see, this is sort of embarrassing to say, but I don't think I have ever sat and watched an entire James Bond movie.
hmm,
I,
that's
I feel like
interesting.
I feel like that's almost the equivalent of saying I've never watched Star Wars, but um, I've seen just kind of like
Hmm.
little bits and pieces here and there, you know what I mean, but never really
Right.
like sat down and watched.
And then
But
there are
obviously I
people,
know who he is.
and there are people who will say, well, this actor was the best James Bond. No, it's this actor. No, it's that
Mhm,
actor. I can remember the first James Bond movie I ever saw was Dr. No, and it was
mhm.
in 1962. I saw it. Now, I was 10 years old, and
It's
believe believe it or not, I had already read the books.
At 10?
Yes. I know. Crazy, huh? And I was watching the movie, and I thought, that's not like in the book. That's a little different than in the book.
Wait, so how old were you when you started reading James Bond?
I was probably 9 or 10,
Okay.
right in there. I don't know if I'd read them all, but I had read at least through Dr. No and maybe a little further.
I feel that's impressive. Do you feel like you fully comprehended it as you were reading it? There
I don't
had to
know.
be some more, like, adult themes that were going over your head, or did you get all that?
Probably, but I know that I enjoyed them enough to read them.
Yeah,
So, okay.
that's really
Now
cool.
you asked about the date at the beginning of the episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You remember at the very beginning, it says on the screen that this was December 7th, 1944. And then
Mhm.
we saw this rocket go up on its test flight. But the time traveling people, all of them, including Flynn, they went back to December 9th. So were
They
there
just
two rockets? Was there one that was tested on the 7th and then they were going to run another one off
well,
on the 9th?
they did mention that they were constantly doing test launch or test bomb. Are you talking the bomb or the rocket? Or
No,
the
the rocket from the castle.
Oh, I don't know. I just know that Lucy mentioned that they just did atomic bomb tests all the time.
But that was in the previous episode.
But I wonder if are you feeling like that was a mistake?
I don't know. it just seemed a little weird. We were told at the beginning it was December 7th, and then at Mason Industries, they said Flynn went back to December 9th. I don't know if that's a discrepancy or something just overlooked, or either that or there was a rocket launched on the 7th and they were going to run another one on the 9th, because I'm sure they tested a lot of these rockets. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit odd.
Now,
I'm not. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to change the subject a little bit. Okay, we found out that Wyatt speaks other languages, including German. Does this mean that in future episodes, Wyatt's going to use this language skill to speak something else?
Definitely, yes. Definitely.
And I wish, when I was watching the episode, I thought, man, I wish I had somebody sitting by me who spoke German so they could tell me if what I'm seeing on the screen for the text is what they're saying.
Right. I did wonder that about when Ian Fleming is speaking in German to the German soldiers, he's pretending to be German. I thought, I was like, I wonder if his accent is any good. They're buying it, obviously, but I wonder if he had to have been really good at his German accent. I did think it was kind of funny when he slapped the guy in the face. He did a pretty good job of pulling off the, superior officer thing.
Right. And I wondered if Ian Fleming himself spoke other languages, including German. I tried to research that, but I couldn't really find a good answer. But, thinking of speaking German, now Lucy obviously didn't speak German because she seemed surprised when Wyatt said he did. What if somebody at that party had come up and started talking to her? What?
Oh yeah, what would she have done?
What would she have done?
Yeah. I don't know.
I did another little research,
and
that is when Fleming in this episode was talking about his brother named Michael, who was killed during the Blitz and all that. Well, in reality, Ian Fleming had a brother named Peter, and his brother did not die in the war. So I don't know. They took a little bit of creative license there with Ian Fleming.
Yeah. But that was kind of his story to, his kind of sad backstory that
he could have been making it up to, for, I don't know, to get sympathy or to something, or it could be like a cover story or something like that.
Or
and why was Lucy surprised by the wardrobe dock? And now, wouldn't they have accessed this in previous missions? Because they had to dress in other clothes for every mission we've seen so far.
Yeah, why wouldn't they? They should have introduced that. They would have in episode 1, really. Or I guess I can't remember how that went down. Maybe they just brought some.
They could have just brought them,
and they just brought her the clothes. Yeah.
Oh, and going back to episode 2, I mentioned there was that big something attached to the time machine that we wondered, is this thing fueling up or whatever? It turns out that big cable was actually a charging cable.
Okay, but now they don't need that anymore. Now that they have their big 300-year battery,
Flynn doesn't need it anymore. But the other ship, Wyatt and Rufus and Lucy, their ship needs to be charged because they don't have an atomic battery.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is Flynn doesn't need the cable, or because theirs is like the battery charged version.
He's got a little more freedom to bounce around.
Right. But that was his, it looks like that was his whole objective to getting the atomic stuff.
Yeah.
Was just to be able to power his, so he's not planning on blowing anything up. He just needs the power to run his time machine.
Yeah. I had one last question. And that is, Lucy is threatening Agent Christopher, saying, you've got to do this, or I'm out of here. I'm going to quit. Aren't there other qualified history professors somewhere who could do what Lucy's doing for Mason Industries?
I don't feel like
is she the only one?
Right. I feel like they could swap her out pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think she's indispensable.
Right.
But those were my thoughts. And I thought this episode kind of was a good continuance from episode 3. It kind of wrapped up that story of the atomic business. And where it goes from here, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure the title of the next one at this point.
Mm-hmm. I did have one other thought, and that was and actually this might have been in the previous episode, but we've kind of made fun a little bit before of their techno babble. But there
Oh,
was
yeah.
there was a moment when they
That
handled
was in
techno,
episode 1.
right. But there was a moment, actually it might have been the previous episode, but I remember a moment standing out to me, and I thought, oh, they handled the techno babble pretty well there, actually. It was when, what's the girl's name who she's figured out how to track where the time machine goes? Jaya, she
Jaya.
said she started to explain that it leaves a trail of blah blah blah, some energy or something, and she it was like it was this sciencey enough explanation, but then she was like, never mind, it's just technical stuff, and so then it was
Right.
like she just didn't bother explaining it to them because it was complicated. But I don't know, it was just a moment where I was like, oh, that was pretty good.
It was a little better.
Yeah.
It was a little better. Well, because there's other shows that always refer to tachyon particles, but
Yeah.
Timeless probably couldn't do that for copyright reasons. They couldn't say it emits tachyon particles when it goes somewhere.
Yeah, that's even though we know that's what it is.
It's always tachyon particles.
Yeah.
Well,
do you have any predictions for what's the next episode? Do we know?
I don't know.
What are we to expect next time?
Well, let me see if I can find the title to the next episode. We're talking episode 5. It is titled The Alamo. So I guess we're going to the Alamo next time.
I would like to know what the recordings are for and what's going on with what's his name wanting the recordings of their conversation. Well, because he said he's in really deep with Rittenhouse.
Mason's giving those recordings to Rittenhouse for some reason.
Right. But to what? But the idea is that Flynn is part of Rittenhouse, isn't it?
No, Flynn isn't.
No, he's not part of. He's against. Yeah, he's like trying to destroy Rittenhouse. You've got these recordings. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
I'm going to give this last one. I'm going to bump it up from the previous week. I'm going to go with about a 7.5.
Okay.
I thought it was better.
I think I'm probably landing at about a 7.
Okay. Next time,
the Alamo.
That wraps up this episode. Join us again next time here in the TV Lounge.